Humans are the most intelligent beings on this earth, and what have we did with all this intelligence? From taming fire, to walking on the moon, from carving tools out of stone, to coding artificial intelligence. Our greatest strength as humans has always been this: we learn. Learning has helped us adapt, survive, build, and connect. We learn from books, from mistakes, from others, and from life itself, and most of the time, that learning empowers us. But what if I told you, sometimes we learn the wrong thing? We learn to stay silent. We learn to stop trying. We learn that effort is pointless. And when that happens, learning becomes a trap. Here's a quick question. Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, things just don't change? Like, even if you try, nothing gets better. So what's the point of even trying anymore? If yes, then my friend, you might have unknowingly experienced something called learned helplessness. Alright, let me break this down to you simply. Learned helplessness is a psychological phenomenon where a person learns to believe they're helpless in a situation, even when they're not. Basically, it's when you get so used to failing or being stuck that you stop trying altogether. Think of it like an Indian circus elephant. When it's a baby, the trainer ties it with a strong chain. While still a baby, the elephant doesn't have the strength to break free, and after fighting for several days, it simply gives up. In its mind, anything the elephant does is useless. It is trapped there, forever. But interestingly, when the elephant grows to its full physical potential, they tie it with the same tiny chain. Sadly, it learned from its past experiences that anything it does goes in vain, so it never even tries to break free. Why? Because it learned it was helpless, even when it clearly wasn't anymore. And maybe you did too. Let's say you wanted to accomplish something, a goal of yours, achieve an athletic body, be healthier, happier, but just couldn't do it. It's possible that sometime in the past you were exposed to aversive stimuli that were unpleasant or painful. You were unable to change them, or you willingly avoided any subsequent encounters. So you became conditioned to simply accept them as they are. You accepted that you're not good enough. This is the principle of learned helplessness, the science and its antidote. But how did we know that this concept of learned helplessness really exists? Well, this whole concept came from an experiment performed by an American psychologist, Martin Seligman, in the 1967. He took 3 groups of dogs. The first group was just chilled. No shocks, no stress. The second group got electric shocks, but they could stop them by pressing a lever. The third group, same shocks, but they couldn't stop it by pressing a lever. To these dogs, it felt like the shock ended whenever, with no clear pattern. Now here's the twist. Later, all dogs were placed in a box, where they could easily escape the shock just by jumping over a little wall. The first and second groups jumped out, but the third group, the ones who had learned that nothing they did mattered, just stayed there, in a hope that it will end in some time, even though freedom was literally one jump away. Crazy, right? The impact of learned helplessness can be seen in many animal species, but how often are we as humans like those dogs? Just sit down and let bad things happen to us. Well, the dogs weren't helpless, because they weren't able to control their situation. They felt helpless because they believed they couldn't control the situation. The idea is that I am helpless, or nothing I do can fix my situation, are based in your beliefs. At the root of learned helplessness are beliefs that you are out of control, and that you do not have power to make changes. Just like the dogs in those experiments, we too as humans can develop the feeling of helplessness through our own beliefs. But let's dig a little deeper. How do we actually form these beliefs? Let's say you try something new, like applying for jobs, starting a relationship, or setting a fitness goal, and it doesn't go well. You give it another shot, still no progress. One more time, same result. Eventually your brain starts to connect the dots and goes, okay, trying seems to equal failing. Maybe I should just stop trying altogether. That's your brain learning, but not in a helpful way. It thinks it's protecting you from disappointment. Over time, this message gets repeated so much that it turns into a belief. Why bother? I already know how this ends. And that's how learned helplessness sneaks in. Not instantly, but gradually. One thought at a time. But here's the good news. You can unlearn it. Seligman didn't just identify the problem, he also gave us the solution in his book called Learned Optimism. Let's break this down in 3 simple steps for you to understand. Step 1. Cognitive awareness. Start by listening to how you explain things to yourself, especially when things go wrong. Do you think, it's all my fault? Or, this always happens to me? This is a pessimistic approach to things. That voice isn't truth. It's a pattern your brain has picked up over time. You've been trained to expect the worst, but that can change. Step 2. Cognitive restructuring. This is where you fight back. When that inner voice says, "I'll never get this right," push back. Ask yourself, is that actually true? What evidence do I have? What would I say to a friend who felt this way? Step 3. Optimistic reframing. Optimism isn't pretending everything's fine. It's knowing you can influence what happens next. Instead of saying, "This will never work," try, "This might take time, but I can handle it." That shift, over time, rebuilds confidence, resilience, and momentum. So yeah, learned helplessness is real, but it's not a life sentence. The past may have shaped your mindset, but it doesn't get to write your future. Train your brain to expect better. Take one step at a time, and remind yourself, I'm not stuck in that box anymore. If this helped you, tap like, and maybe share it with someone who needs to hear this today. See you in the next one.